everybody, what's up? Chad Andrews here, Total Cyclist in the 33 rule. We're back. Chad Andrews along with Brad Sohner. Brad, how's it going, my man? It's kind of a long time, but not a long time, a medium time. I don't know. Where do we sit on this whole spectrum of how long it's been since we've seen each other?
It's still weird. We're still in weird times. So yeah, too long. How's that?
Our relationship isn't quite there yet, right? Well, good. Well, we're coming up. It's almost September of 2022, which you and I probably could say that COVID was so long as far as commentary going for us because there really wasn't any gigs. And now that the gigs are back, it's when you go a couple of weeks without doing them, it's kind of awkward. You kind of find yourself in the same space.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours. But yeah. We're figuring out the new world order here. So I think everyone's kind of getting their calendars dialed in.
The New World Order. Well, as we get into the tail end of the season, you and I have been working a lot of the American Crit Cups, but coming up, in not next weekend, which is Labor Day weekend, and you and I are gonna touch on that, but we're gonna jump ahead to the Winston Salem Cycling Classic. And you and I have been both kind of fortunate to be able to call that since its inception. When it was a UCI men's race, then it became, I think the following year in 2019, okay, everybody out there, don't hold me to it, the women's race became the focal point, because that's when all the women from around the world came over and chasing UCI points. But this year, it's going to be Streets of Fire, presented by Flow Automotive. And then Saturday is going to be the Crit, where you and I will do our thing. And then, of course, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the concerts are free this year at Gears and Guitars. Did you know that?
I did. They do a good job with the music there. They always have good music at Gears and Guitars.
And I'm so smoked, but I'm like, this year, I'm like, better than Ezra, Cowboy Mouth, Dawes. I was doing an event in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and this kid was just stopped talking about Dawes, and I'm like, okay, I guess clearly I gotta go see Dawes. But anyway, are you a Dawes fan? Do you know Dawes?
Yeah, enough to go see him with you.
Okay. All right, cool. We're gonna go see it. That and a cold beverage. All right, so let's talk about kind of the inception. I do have pulled up here some of the results, and you and I can just kind of briefly go over, because we were trying to rack our brains off camera about how it all came down. And I remember the very first year we did it, the Crit was on Saturday, I think, and then the UCI road races on Sunday, and you had teams that were kind of split or whatever. But I'm looking at the results in 2018 for the Crit, and it's got it's like a stage race results in the Crit. Colin Joyce, Pierre-Andre Cote, Sam Bassetti, Alfredo, Diego Jimenez. I mean, it's like, okay, then you got Eric Galen Young, but then I keep going down. Connor Sally's in 10th. So, yeah. And Brad Huntfoot's 12th. So it's kind of this weird kind of thing. Did you get that sense back when we first did it the first year that this was going to be a different criterion than our standard ones that we normally call?
Yeah, anytime we have UCI teams that come for a road race and then kind of tack on a criterion to the trip, it's always fun to have new riders coming in, like Luke Lamperti this year or last year. Great example. I mean, like a typical road guy who no stranger to crits, but we don't usually see him. He got to come race. So yeah, I remember that year being fun in the crits because you had the rallies, and well, I guess it was probably not rally back then.
Yeah, it was rally,
but yeah, still rally. Okay, yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you have Euro pros, let's call them, come in and mix it up with the Crit, it's always fun. Get some new blood in there. So yeah, I remember that well. And sometimes it doesn't go well for the Euro pros. I remember some big names getting smoked in the crits because it's a different style of racing.
Yeah, I mean, how I'm used to bumping and grabbing less than 3K to go. I'm not used to doing it for a whole hour and a half. Kind of reminds me like the Sacramento stage of Tour of California when they came into town. The circuit was super short, and all the guys were like, "What is this? This is not comfortable." So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And then as we kind of flash forward the next few years, then we started getting to more of the Crit racers. Because then the Crit racers took off on the Sunday because it was part of a national series the Crit was a part of a national series on Saturday. And that's where like Ty won in the men. Let me see here for the women. Let's just pull up to 2020 for the women. So the women, back then it was called Erica Clevenger, Maggie Coles-Lister, Caitlin Agnew, Rachel Plessing, and Celine Oberhauser. So you still had a kind of a unique mix. Do you think it was the course? Do you think it's the course at Winston-Salem, which this year is going to change? Or was it just people tired at the end of the year, or crit racers? Kind of give me your thoughts on why there has always been a little shakeup in the top 10, normally to what you and I are normally used to seeing at Winston.
Winston-Salem's not an easy course, that's for sure. It's the course they used last year. It goes over on top of itself. There's some elevation gain in that course. It's definitely not a fast, flat, easy crit course. So I think that probably has something to do with it. End of the season's tough too. I mean, it's hard to race in these August, September, October races. So yeah, maybe that was part of it. And a little bit of end of season, everyone wants to try and get their last little dig in. It's your last chance to get a result, last chance to do something big. So might as well try something crazy. Yeah, and we see some of those performances, I think, every year too. So that's one of the fun parts about a late season race, I guess. You might as well go all in.
All right. Do you think that the course, I have my opinions, I'm curious to get yours. This year, we actually finished on the flyover. If you're a cyclocross racer, or if you're in civil construction and engineering, it's called an overpass. But it's like a dumbbell shaped course, but the finish line goes up and over the overpass and then comes down. Do you think that, because I think it's like a couple 100 meters from the final turn to the climb, and it's a gradual climb up, I think it's a little steeper. Do you think that's going to favor somebody that I hate to use the word climb because it's not really a climb per se, but it'll wear you out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to favor a train, that's for sure. I think when you have that short, fast kick to the line, you're not going to be able to do the typical, crit lead out and try and line people up on the front. So yeah, maybe a break goes or a few riders separate on the front, but it's certainly not going to be the multi-team drag race, I think, that we've seen before. That long finish, long uphill drag under the underpass in the old course. So I don't know. It'll be exciting to see. A lot of it's going to depend on how they race during the race too. I mean, whether a split goes or not. There were always a lot of breakaways in the old course, so we'll see if that holds true on the new course. But I got to think it will.
Yeah, where you and I were stationed over the past several years, we were literally under the underpass, which made the music and everything super loud. But we're actually going to be jettisoning vertically up on the overpass, so it's going to be kind of interesting. I'm excited to kind of see how that course changes. And, and then of course we have Friday night, when's the last time you commentated a street sprint?
I think it was probably the Wendy's International Cycling Classic in Columbus, Ohio, which would have been like 15 years ago. Street sprints totally need to make a comeback. One of the most underrated, I like the trainer races too. I always thought those qualifiers were cool, but there's nothing like a good sort of nighttime street sprint party. Just let people have fun and go fast. So I'm excited for the street sprints.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know about street sprints, it's kind of a unique dynamic. I don't know if they're going to do a flying or a standing. My guess is it's going to be a standing start, and they got 200 meters to let it rip. And 200 meters for somebody like an amateur, they think they're just going to go all out for 200 meters, and it's like that's a good way.
Oh, there's some strategy to it for sure, and I'm not sure if they're going to have sprinting lanes or if they can draft off of each other and sort of play the cat and mouse dynamic. But either way, it's it takes a well-versed sprinter to be able to win a sprint like that. So yeah, it's going to be fun. I love the short format. I think it's going to be super interesting for spectators. Criterium racing is the short format of road racing, and street sprints are the short format of criterium racing, I guess. So yeah, bring it on. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, Flow Automotive is going to be the guys that are going to be there. Maybe they'll have to drag race one of their cars or something. That would kind of. But,
what is the car distance? What are they? A quarter mile, right? Isn't that what they measure it on?
Yeah.
It's like your standard. Yeah, maybe we should. We're close.
Look into that. Yeah, and then while we're going on, we're going to be introducing some killer bands. So it's going to be this hodgepodge of stuff. In the whole kind of the pantheon of bike racing, this one's kind of like, I don't really consider it my hometown race, but my home state race, and it's been nice because I've been involved with it. What's kind of been your experience when you go? I mean, there's been so many different things where it's you and me and Frankie, or me and you and Jens, and you've got Robbie, and you've got Bob, and you've got this whole like plethora of stuff coming up. And of course you have the Rauchs and the Sterling Swains and all these people that are instrumental in making it happen. To me, it kind of makes me think of like, you've got the very loud, like kind of Athens kind of vibe. And then you've got something kind of that's down low and quiet and chill, kind of like Somerville, and then you've got something that's kind of stuck in the between, which is what Winston-Salem is, in my opinion. But of course, you have this huge concert with these huge bands going on, literally where the pros will be circling around as the what are the bands called that start?
Openers.
The openers.
Yeah. No, it's the perfect format. You know, a lot of races have tried this. A lot of events have sort of tried to find the magic formula of how much is the right mix of bike racing and entertainment, and what can the rest of the people do, and what do you do with the family that maybe doesn't want to watch bike racing for 8 hours a day. And I think they've sort of slowly been working on this perfect formula, and they get closer and closer every year, and they're listening to, you know, the patrons, listening to the people that are coming to these races, and sort of giving the people what they want. And that's how, you know, we got to this music crit street sprint format, which I'm so excited for. So yeah, I think it's awesome that they're definitely listening to what the people want, as opposed to trying to force it down their throats.
Cool. Well, it's gonna be fun. A couple weeks away. I appreciate your time. Yeah, and we're gonna do another video here. So we're gonna put the kibosh on this one because we have another race that we're gonna talk about as well. But Brad Sohner, Chad Andrews here, Winston Salem Cycling Classic. Come on down. You can check them out. Check us out, or check the event out at winstonssalemcycling.com. Of course, on the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,